Welcome back. Each school year brings excitement and sometimes anxiety. Ugh. There are always a lot of external expectations when starting a new year. Setting specific and realistic goals is one way to curtail these angst. Let's take a look at some ways to set realistic goals without overwhelming ourselves. All right, so we're going to continue our professional development series. We're talking about setting realistic personal goals for the school year, and we're going to jump right into it. So we're going to look at the definition, the importance, some specific considerations, strategies and examples, close out with some benefits and keys to remember. So when it comes to defining realistic personal goals, right? Oftentimes there's a lot going on at the beginning of the school year. You have external, what the district wants, what the school principal wants, what the department wants. And then you have your own personal goals, right? So as an instructor, you want to make sure that you're absorbing, what those external expectations are. You don't ignore them, but you want to curate them in a manner where on a personal level, you can make the goals specific and meaningful. It's connected to your areas of influence. They're challenging but attainable. So it's not, every student is going to, move up 12 grade levels, in the next year. No, it's measurable or observable, and it's flexible enough to adjust, right? So you want to have the context of the goals are achievable and they're going to improve your professional practice, your personal effectiveness, and they're going to maintain your well-being. So by making them challenging but attainable, measurable and observable, flexible, within your sphere of influence, that helps with your maintaining of your well-being. Because if you set these exuberant goals, it is possible that you don't achieve them, which impacts your efficacy. It starts wearing on you because it's like, what's the point? I can never meet these goals. Really, what am I doing? And you can go into a spiral. So having this framework of defining what realistic personal goals should look like helps you to achieve them. So what's the significance of setting realistic goals? You prioritize what matters most, right? So we talked about those external expectations from the school district, from the principal, from the department, all of those things. So I'm going to listen to all of that, and then I'm going to look at my own personal goals, and then I'm going to prioritize what's going to impact or have the greatest impact. Avoid trying to improve everything at once. This one is what really, in my experience, really gets people. They're going to change everything about everything that they do in 1 year, and it's not going to happen. You're going to find yourself either burnt out or frustrated or both, right? Significance, it makes professional growth intentional. Instead of, eventually I'll get better, I'll get better with time. No, I'm going to make sure that I get better with time. You recognize and celebrate progress. It builds confidence and self-efficacy. And you connect daily actions to long-term improvement. So I'm doing a little bit each day for this bigger goal. I'm not just going in each day just hoping and praying on a whim that things go right. So following up with the importance, it provides a focus during the demanding school year. 182 days, right? 180 days or whatever, 10 months. It gives me a focus. Oh, okay, when the times get tough, all right, I'm remembering, I'm trying to meet this goal. It reduces the feelings of being overwhelmed. If you try to take on, 10, 20 goals for the year and try to achieve everything, you're going to be overwhelmed. It encourages continuous improvement, increases motivation and accountability, and it promotes a healthier work-life boundaries. When you set these goals, it allows you to prioritize, compartmentalize, and say, you know what? I know I'm not going to change everything. So I'm meeting my goal. I can't worry about that other stuff right now. So the difference between the personal and professional. So professional, you may have improved classroom management, right? You might look at instruction, engagement, assessment use, family communication, things that are going to, improve my professional setting, right? But then you also want to make sure you incorporate some personal goals. Leave work at a responsible time. This is something that, I struggled with early on, because you're trying to do everything and then you look up, oh, it's 6 o'clock. You got out at 3, it's 6 o'clock, and now you're trying to head home, right? And now your home life is being impacted because you're cutting off the time that you spend at home. You don't get the proper rest. You don't get the camaraderie and all these things, and it wears on you, right? You're like, okay, my job is never ending. Personal goal: protect planning periods, right? Protect your planning periods. Improve organization, manage stress, make time for life outside of school. These things are important. If once you get into it, and especially if you actually care, right? The irony, especially if you actually care about the kids that you're working with, it can become overwhelming. You can find yourself, oh, I'm attending, Johnny asked me to come to his football game. Susie asked me to come to her dance recital. Oh, they're doing a performance tonight, blah, blah. And all of a sudden you realize your whole life is the school. And that's unhealthy. So when I'm thinking about professional goals, personal goals, goal setting, some things I consider, right? What has worked well before? I don't throw out last year. I take from last year what actually worked, what has worked well in the past. I make consideration of that, right? What created the greatest challenges? So for me, it was always communicating with parents, not because I had a fear of parents. It's because it was annoying to have to try to track down the parents, honestly. What do I control? Some things you don't have control over. You don't have control over. And this was true for me when I started out in teaching. And present day 2026, this is even more so, because a lot of the parameters for control in the classroom have been removed, believe it or not. What do my students need from me? What do I need to be more effective in? What support or resources will I need? What school or district priorities should I consider? And how much time can I really devote to, meeting these goals? These are things you need to consider as you're setting your goals, not afterwards, not halfway through the school year, because this will help frame your goals so that they are attainable, they are measurable, and they support your well-being as well. This is something we just talked about, the fixing everything approach. We want to avoid this, right? We want to set 1 to 3 high impact goals, right? And we're going to hit those 3 goals. Once we hit them, we can set up 3 more. But we don't want to start with 20 goals. Oh, I'm going to do this, and 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 I'm going to do this. You're doing nothing, okay? Prioritize quality over quantity. You want to break your large goals into small steps. Okay, this is my goal. How am I going to get there? Realistic timelines. Moving all my first grade students to a third grade level by the end of first quarter may not be realistic, okay? Maybe by the end of the year, or maybe by, semester break. Cool. More realistic, but, to do it in a month or 2 months, it's not realistic, right? You want to focus on progress rather than perfection. Am I progressing towards these goals? Not was I perfect today, not did everything go right, but am I making progress? And adjust goals when circumstances change. So a good example, I will strengthen students' discussion this semester as an activity, right? A non-example, I will become a better teacher this year. What does that mean? It's not clear. The first one, you're going to specifically focus on student discussions, and you're going to do it within the semester. The second one, I'll become a better teacher this year. What does that mean, right? Because if you ask Susie, you're not a better teacher. If you ask Johnny, you are. So it becomes subjective. It's too broad, it's too vague. SMART goals are a good framework. If you're familiar with SMART goals, they are specific, they're measurable, they're achievable, they're relevant, and they're time bound. Okay. So using the SMART goal framework for your 1 to 3 goals is beneficial. Example of a realistic teacher goal, a broad example. I want students to participate more. Participate in what? Participate how? There's no definitive goal here. It's too vague, it's too broad, right? So the SMART goal during the first quarter, I have my time frame. I will implement at least 2 structured student discussion strategies each week and monitor participation to determine whether more students are contributing. You see what I mean? So now I have these 2 structured discussion strategies and I'm monitoring to see whether they're effective. If they're not, I'm going to bring in 2 other student discussion strategies and try those out. Okay, so it's focused, it's observable, it's manageable, it's connected to learning, and you can review and adjust it periodically. So these are just examples. You had the SMART goal framework to create your goals, and this slide here helps you understand the importance of framing it in a SMART manner. So you want to always start with reflection. What should this goes back to the considerations. So keep what I should continue doing. I do certain things well. I want to keep those things. What do I need to improve on? Okay, those are the things I need to change. And then what strategies could I explore? What can I bring in that I haven't tried before? Maybe, I'm going to relinquish some of the control by allowing students the autonomy to do a project over an assessment, or, maybe I try a new instructional strategy. So you want to use reflection to identify meaningful goals rather than just choosing goals, arbitrarily. So we want to break them into actionable steps, right? An example, the goal is I want to improve family communication. It's too broad, okay? So I want to make sure that I have specific steps that are going to allow me to get to that goal. So I want to establish communication systems. All right. I'm going to use email, Class Dojo, and, Instagram, if you will. Okay. I want to send an introductory message during the first weeks, right? So these are my steps. I have my system. I'm going to let them know these are the systems that I'm using. This is how they can reach me. And how we can go back and forth during the first weeks. I'm not waiting until the end of first quarter when I start reaching out to parents about behavior issues. No, I'm setting the tone from the beginning. I want to share regular positive updates. I used to tell, kids all the time, I'll call home for both the good and the bad. Give me more good to call home and you'll be okay, right? So you want to track family contacts, who's responding, who's not responding. You know what? This email keeps coming back. I need to talk to this parent so I can update it because they're not getting the information. And then review effectiveness each quarter. You definitely want to create progress checkpoints. So if you have a goal, how do you know if you're not using checkpoints? How do you know you're progressing towards it, right? So you want to pause and reflect periodically. What progress have I made? What evidence supports that I've made progress? What's working? What adjustments are needed? Is the goal still relevant, right? So maybe in the first month, in the first quarter, mid-year, third quarter, end of the year, these are periodic checkpoints that you can set up to just pause. You know what? Let me reflect. What's going well? What do I need to adjust? And if you set up these checkpoints, you'll find yourself not being overwhelmed, because if you start at the beginning of the school year and you don't check progress until mid-semester, the semester break, you've had 2 quarters where things could have been going terribly wrong and you have no idea. You don't even realize it because you haven't stopped to reflect, or you feel like you can't change anything because your checkpoint is at the mid-year point, and you know what, I'm gonna stay focused on this goal, I'm gonna ride it out. No, give yourself periodic checkpoints so you can make adjustments accordingly. You definitely want to build accountability. And this is something that is important because what it does, it allows you to be accountable. Okay, I know it's simplistic, but just by sharing with trusted colleagues, okay, we're not saying that you stand up in the middle of the auditorium, hey everybody, I'm going to make sure my family communication is better this year. That's not what we're talking about. You have one or two people that you trust as colleagues. Look, I'm focused on improving my family communication this year. These are my steps. I just want to, share them with you so, you can hold me accountable, work with an accountability partner. This could be another colleague. This could be your AP. This could be your principal. This could be your instructional coach, what have you. Discuss goals during coaching sessions. This is your collaborative planning. Maybe you discuss your goals during then. Use your professional learning community meetings for reflection. Okay. If you don't have a PLC, maybe that's one of your goals. If you don't have a professional learning community within your building, maybe that's one of your goals. Maintain a goal journal. You want to keep track. This could be, audible. This could be written, but you want to maintain a tracking of your progress and then celebrate small accomplishments. Don't wait to the end. Recognize and celebrate those small accomplishments because that'll help build your efficacy. You want to give yourself permission to adjust, okay? Just because you're changing something doesn't mean it's a failure. Really, you just learn what doesn't work. That's it, okay? So give yourself a chance and permission to change things. Hey, I've gone a whole week. This whole communication thing, nobody uses Dojo anymore. Instagram is a little too, stimulating. There's too much going on. So maybe I need to change what platforms I use in order to communicate with parents. So you as the teacher setting goals, what are the benefits for the students? Let's run through them. Improve classroom organization. You have goals, it's clear. Greater instructional consistency, increased engagement, stronger teacher-student relationships. You have more responsive teaching practices because you're cognizant of the specific goals that you're trying to meet. You have improved classroom climate because you find yourself and your actions more purposeful because you have a goal in mind. And teachers who model perseverance and lifelong learning. So you're modeling for the students what it means to set a goal and work to achieve that goal. All the ins and outs of adjusting as you're trying to reach that goal. This is what we walk students through every day, right? So now we as instructors are going to model that for them. The benefits for the teacher, you have increased efficacy, professional confidence, stronger instructional practice, greater sense of accomplishment, improved organization and time management, clearer priorities. You reduce unnecessary stress. So if for no other reason, setting goals, achievable, realistic goals, if for no other reason, do it to reduce your own stress, right? You have healthier professional boundaries and you have greater recognition of professional growth. And for the school, if teachers are doing this, you have a stronger professional learning community, greater collaboration. Teachers are using more reflective practices. You have increased staff ownership of professional growth. So now it's not the principal saying, hey guys, we're going to come together and let me set the goals for you. No, I'm an instructor. I'm going to set my own goals. They're aligned, they're realistic, and they're targeted, right? So now as a teacher, I'm not trying to check off a box per se. I actually want to grow. So I've set my parameters and my realistic goals to do that. You have alignment with the school improvement goals, increased innovation, and a culture of continuous learning. So some keys to remember, you want to make goals meaningful, okay? We're not just pulling arbitrary goals out of the sky. We want to look at our current practice, look at what works, look at what doesn't work, and set goals accordingly. Focus on controllable actions, okay? You cannot control everything that goes on in the hallway. You cannot control the home life of the students. You cannot control the foolishness of your colleagues. All you can control is you, your instruction, your planning, your communication. Focus on those things that you have control over. Measure your progress, not perfection. It doesn't have to be perfect. Show up every day, put forth that genuine effort, and you'll make progress towards your goals. You want to review them regularly, like we said, maybe at the beginning of or midway through the first quarter, end of second quarter, mid-year, end of year, So we want to set up periodic goal reviews. You adjust when necessary. Don't be afraid to adjust. I think this is one of the keys that hinders people. When they see that they need to adjust, it feels like, oh, I didn't do it right, and now I got to go all the way back to the beginning. No, just pause for a second, because if I'm doing periodic reviews of my progress, I can see, oh, you know what, that didn't quite work. All right, if I try this, maybe this will work better. Okay, celebrate the small wins, and last but not least, ask for support when needed. Thank you. We hope that was helpful. Remember, achieving 1 to 3 goals is better than stressing over not meeting 9 to 10 goals. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you next time.